Guys, this is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services, and today I am here to talk to you about ChatGPT and Google Bard. Now, this is for those of you that are probably new to the tools, you don't know a lot about AI, and so really what I wanted to do is kind of provide you with some guidance and a little bit of background information about each of these tools and how you can go about using them. Now, they are both what are called large language learning models, things like that. They are both text-based, so they really are for generating text. They're not for generating images and things like that. Now, ChatGPT is the one that probably came out first. There was a lot of the headlines about it. A lot of students started interacting earlier, and it was really one of the first AI large-scale models that actually came up with a relatively good information. It wasn't kind of going off the rails like Bing has done and things like that. It's actually been a really fantastic tool. It's now been incorporated into a whole bunch of different apps that are being used, from things like Conmigo to ChatGPT Summary, Wizdolia, AskYourPDF.com, which are ones that we've covered in some of my other videos. And you know, it's got a lot of great capacity in it, and people are certainly using it for a whole bunch of different reasons. However, it does have limitations, and the main limitation of it is that it is only current up to 2021. Information post 2021 has not been loaded into ChatGPT, and therefore, if you're asking it for information, it's not going to be able to provide you with current information. So this is really relevant when we're doing things like writing about the most current legislation, or if we're doing things where we need to be referencing current events and that sort of information. So this is probably where Google Bard has kind of really started to take over, and particularly with the advances that it's made as recently as the 13th of July. There's certainly a lot of functionality that is coming into Google Bard, and in and amongst all of the offerings that Google currently offers, there is definitely a very healthy competition for service between these two. So I wanted to share my screen and just show you a little bit about how you can work with them, give you some tips and suggestions, look at some potential extensions and purposes for why you would use each of these two services. And certainly what I would say is that a lot of the people that I know that are working with these ones regularly are using both, because that is actually giving them the best, the best options and the best information. Now, one of the things that people might notice is that my ChatGPT probably looks a little bit different from a lot of other people's. I do have a paid subscription, which means I've got access to GPT-4. Certainly, if you're doing more complex tasks, GPT-4 is probably more accurate in relationship to what it can generate. And you'll notice things like, it's got the ability to save chats. You can now actually export your chats as well. This AIPRM is basically an extension that I've downloaded, so it provides you with a whole range of different prompts and things like that. Asks for your output, your tone, your writing styles. It just gives you a little bit of information in and around that so that your prompts are more accurate. And basically, when we say prompts, the more accurate your prompt is, the more likely you are to get information out that you're hoping to get out. So that's just a little bit about what ChatGPT looks like. Now, this is Google Bard. Obviously, Google Bard literally only within the last 4 days has the ability to save chats. Prior to that, you did not have the ability to save and go back into chats. And a whole bunch of new features were released as of the 13th of July. So, as I said, one of the reasons why you would want to go about using Google Bard is basically because you're going to be able to get current up-to-date information. So if, for example, I said, what is the current legislation in Western Australia for work, health, and safety? And I wait for that prompt. Okay, it's going to give me information telling me that the WHS Act came into effect on the 31st of March 2022 and replaced the Occupational Health and Safety Act. Whereas if I put the same prompt into ChatGPT, it's likely to tell me that the current legislation is the Occupational Health and Services Act 1984. So anytime you're looking for updated information or you're looking for very specific information, then I highly recommend that you're using Bard. Now, the other thing is, if you're asking it for information directly from websites, that's another reason why you would be asking for information from Bard, because again, it's going to be able to pull the latest information. Okay, so this does give you a lot more. Now, one of the newest features that's literally only come into Google Bard as of, I think, as I said, I think the 13th of July, is the ability to actually upload files. So, excuse me. You can upload JPEGs, PMGs. It does have some limited ability to be able to actually review images now. This is definitely not something that is available in ChatGPT. But if we just take an image, for example, now, based on a lot of the information that I've seen out there, it's not entirely accurate. So please tell me what is in this image. So we'll see what it comes up with. Really having to think about that. Okay, so the image you sent me is a black and white banner with a woman in a circle. The woman is standing on front of a gold leaf. She is wearing a long flowing dress. So obviously that part is wrong. The colors, you know, that it's got, so it does obviously have black. It does have a little bit of white in there. There is a woman in there. The banner text says Cricos 101 student transfers. So it definitely got that part correct. The image is likely a promotional image. For a program that helps student transfers or other universities. The gold leaf represents a wealth of knowledge. So, you know, Alec, it does tend to take liberties. I mean, obviously, there is no flowing dress in there. It did get some of the other information correct. This is going to get far more accurate over time. So it's interesting to see. Now, one of the other features that I like about Google Bard is that it does have more options rather than just the like, dislike, like whether it's a good response or a bad response. And certainly I would be encouraging people, when you do get a bad response, to actually like tell the Bard or tell ChatGPT that you're getting a bad response, because all of that information goes into actually making sure that it is more accurate over time. But the other thing that I really like about this is that you can then actually just Google the term as well. So you can basically push Google it, and then that's actually going to allow you, at least it should allow you, there you go, to pull up searching related topics. And then that will open up the actual Google, and you can, you know, you can go and take a look at similar topics and websites yourself. So that's a really handy little feature that we certainly don't have within ChatGPT. So I guess if we talk about like the ways that we would be using it as a trainer and an educator, if you're doing things to develop like basic lesson plans, you know, some basic content, things like that, you wanted to develop scenarios, probably looking at going with ChatGPT. It does have just, it is just generally a lot more accurate. It has a lot more information in there. It's a little bit more sophisticated, and it tends not to go off book and come up with its own, you know, come up with its own storylines and things as often as Google Bard does. If you were looking for information that was very current, or you're looking for a specific website, and looking to pull information from there, obviously over time the images is going to get better. Then I would be going with something like Google Bard. Now, both of these ones also do have the ability to actually write code. I am not a coder, so I don't have a lot of information around this, but what I will do is I will put a link in the description below to a gentleman who is very, very smart with these things. He provides it in a lot of detail. And so if you are someone who is teaching kids how to code, you're teaching them how to write code, interpret code, things like that, then certainly Google Bard and ChatGPT have got some really, really fantastic functionality in and around that. And it's really interesting to see what people are doing in that particular space. So I hope you guys have found this helpful. I guess in summary, if you're looking to write like a little bit more complex, as a broad rule, I would go with ChatGPT. If you are looking at going with something that is a little bit more specific, or a little bit more current, then I would go with Google Bard. So I hope you guys have found that helpful. If you want any more information, please drop it in the questions below. We're going to be doing a lot more on these. We've also got our great talk with Ray from Accelerate that came through just a couple of weeks ago. And also we do have top tools for AI educators. I will put a link in the chat for that as well. I hope you guys had fun with this. My name is Lauren Hollows for NOI Education Services.